Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Till the Whistle Blows podcast. My name is Sam, and we're going to be doing a two-part episode today. Part one is going to be all about what happened in Week 14 of the NFL season, and after that, I will be going into a little deeper dive of the start of the NBA season, which will happen on December 22nd. So we'll be around for all that. But for the first part, why don't we get our friend here? We got Carrie back on the line here to talk all NFL Week 14. How you doing, Carrie?
Sam, good to be with you once again. I'm excited to get into these games as usual.
Yeah, so you and I, we will spend the first half of this week's episode talking about the NFL. And after that, I will part ways and I will be talking about the NBA season as it is coming upon us now on December 22nd. We have a lot to cover here today. So why don't we get right into the football?
This year is flying by. Doesn't it feel like basketball just ended?
So the reason why basketball is starting up because they had to delay the season and they had their they were supposed to finish off in the spring, but due to COVID reasons, they had to finish here on October, and they wanted to get another season in for 2021, so they are going to be starting again here on the 22nd.
Now, are they doing the bubble again?
They will not be doing the bubble until the playoffs. Unfortunately,
Well,
there's way too many teams this time around.
Oh, okay. There were less teams last time. Because I was going to say
they only did 22 teams. Now all 30 are back.
Okay, because I was going to say I know it's a hassle, but it seemed to work so well for them last time.
It did. Like I said, though, it's just unfortunately it is too many teams this time around.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they can get through it safely.
All right, but with that, I'll go over that in the second half of today's episode. But for the first half here, we got our football expert here. So let's talk football. Why don't we start with our Thursday night game where we thought the Patriots were going to win, but then the Patriots turned into whatever the hell you want to call this. They lost 24-3 to Jared Goff and the Rams.
Well, I take exception to that because you thought the Patriots were going to win, and I actually picked the Rams for this one. And I remember I was going to pick the Patriots up until the moment where you asked me, and something in my head said to pick the Rams.
I was going to say, I think you said it was kind of a toss-up, but you picked the Rams, and you were very on them.
Something in my head said to go with the Rams, and I'm glad I did. The Patriots have been very week to week this year. It seems like 1 week they're like, okay, they're building something, and the next week they're just, I mean, this was coming off a 45-0 win against the other LA team, and I think
they kind of remind me of the Raiders right now because you never know what you're going to get with the Raiders either.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, they've been very up and down. Cam Newton really hasn't been the same since post-COVID. It feels like. I keep thinking back to that Sunday night where he shredded the Seahawks, and you're thinking, wow, how did everyone leave this guy, not want to sign this guy? And ever since then, it's just hasn't really looked like a fit. A pick six early in this one kind of dooms it for the Patriots. They're struggling here. I mean, they're in between regimes.
They're definitely having a bit of a free fall here. They definitely seem to be playing better at home though, because with a 6-7 record, they're only 2-5 away from Foxborough.
Yeah, that's a good point. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. As much as even in an empty Foxborough stadium, the Foxborough yips still seem to be a thing for opposing teams.
Foxborough seems to be a rough place. Seattle kind of seems to be a rough place.
Seattle, yeah, I would say those are the two where I've most noticed home field advantage this year, despite the lack of crowd. But yeah, I mean, Cam Newton struggled. They put in Jarrett Stidham late in this game, and not able to get really any momentum going with the running game. Just no identity for them on offense. And the thing that stood out to me, Sam, is their offensive line really struggled. I mean, it felt like Cam was just getting hit the second he drops back. And Cam's a guy, again, it's not a great fit at this point because Cam's more of a deep drop kind of guy.
He definitely doesn't like the system. Unfortunately, that they're running is not really a good fit for Mr. Newton here. So we're probably going to end up seeing him out the door probably after the season.
He's a little more deliberate in his delivery, and they can't block anyone. It was interesting because Stidham comes in late in this game, and he does 5 of 7 for 27 yards. He also gets demolished by the Swiss cheese of an offensive line. But, at this point, he does look a bit more like a typical Josh McDaniels quarterback in that he's a little more twitchy. He's a little bit more of a quick decision maker. And some people are saying that why not bench Newton and take a look at what Stidham has for the rest of the year, which I think is a fair question. But Bill
It's
comes out
very
and says,
fair. I don't know if Belichick's going to do that though, because they know they're still in the playoff hunt, and I think the best bet for them to make it to the playoffs would be Cam Newton.
right, and Bill comes out and says that Cam is our starter now. It's Bill. It's
Like Bill knows like Cam will be the best. Like he doesn't want to test the waters with Stidham right now. He wants to. If there's an opportunity for him to make the playoffs, he's going to make it.
Yeah, and I think more than that, it's also just about this offensive line and the fact that Cam as a veteran. I mean, like you said, you throw Stidham's essentially a rookie, right? Like, I mean, he was drafted last year, but
yeah, but he didn't really touch the field. He was really just sitting around.
So he's essentially a rookie, and at least with Cam, you have some. I think he wants a veteran with this kind of offensive line. He at least wants a veteran out there. And then my assumption is, they're not going to be in position to take a great guy, but my assumption is, like you said, it's probably out the door for Cam at the end of this year, and then maybe they draft someone and they have a competition in camp between whoever they draft and Stidham, and then the winner of that ends up being the quarterback.
Well, we'll have to see what they decide to do. Honestly, their playoff hopes are definitely on a thread right now. They're hitting down the stretch here. Probably depending on what happens in the coming weeks, we might see more of Stidham coming in, though.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. I mean, he hasn't looked good so far, but he's still. We haven't had enough body of work to see. But
I was gonna say, what have we've seen him play like a few snaps, and then he threw 7 passes in this one.
Yeah, and then we saw him earlier in the Chiefs game when Newton couldn't play and Hoyer got benched and Stidham didn't do much better. I think he threw 3 picks.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Stidham's been thrown into bad situations because even you throw him in against the Chiefs and you're this Rams team that I don't even know what the hell we're gonna make of them. Like they're very streaky. This Rams team too. Well, not streaky, like unpredictable.
Yeah, and early in this game, it was one thing worth mentioning. The Patriots had a 4th and goal, and they run an option, it seems. For all the good juju that Josh McDaniels has built up over the years from a play calling perspective, and there is a lot of it. I mean, this guy can run route combinations as well as anyone in the league. It seems they seem very again, it just doesn't seem like a fit with Cam. They seem very limited. They didn't want him to throw the ball. I mean, they were a long way away. They run this option play on 4th and goal, and it gets snuffed out very easily. So just really nothing for the Patriots here. And yeah, Sam, on the side of the Rams, I believe they're in first place in the NFC West now.
They are in first place. They were in first place to actually start the week, and now they solidify that lead right here.
And as much as we like to gripe about Jared Goff, and I think it's deserved, they play good defense here, and they run the ball well too. Cam Akers is kind of becoming the guy. One thing I've noticed in the league this year is there were a lot of good rookie backs this year, and a lot of those guys have been eased into the season. When I think about Cam Akers, Zach Moss, and Jonathan Taylor, all those guys didn't really start the year as the bell cow. I think they wanted to ease them in, but as the year has gone on,
they're starting to step up definitely.
Yeah, we're seeing more of them on the field. I mean, we were talking about last week who's the back for this Rams team. Is it Darrell Henderson? Is it Malcolm Brown? Is it Cam Akers? And Cam Akers got 29 carries in this game, so he
could be the guy next year.
Yeah,
for them. I think for right now they're going to continue this running back by committee.
I think you're right, but again, they're moving more towards. I think they like this kid, and a big moment for the Rams in this game. I think they open up the third quarter with a drive that basically ate up almost entirely the third quarter, and I think they threw 2 passes and just spent most of it pounding the rock with Cam Akers. It was a physical drive, and it was really a statement kind of drive, and I think it was a statement for this Rams team that I don't think they're a great team, as inconsistent as they've been, as much as the passing game holds them back. They can be physical, they can play defense, and they can run the ball. That's sort of what they've evolved into, away from sort of the high-flying offense of the early McVay Goff years. It's kind of become more of a physical team at this point in the season. And as much as we talk about the passing game with McVay, he does come from that school of the zone running game and establishing that run on the ground. And they did that in this game today, and I think that's going to be the formula for them moving forward. Now, again, like you said, it's very week to week with them, because there are some weeks where they'll throw it 50 times, and you're like, what are they, by choice? And I think that's something you see a lot with play callers who are, offensive minds, right? They just, it's like if you're playing Madden, right? Like you can run the ball, but at some point it just gets boring, and you want to show off your your skills in the passing game. I think when you get play callers that come from offensive minds, whether it be the Andy Reid school or the McVay school. Well, not all the McVay school because Shanahan likes to run it a little bit more, but McVay has got
Shanahan is a heavy run user in his
right.
offense.
Well, they're both the outside zone, so they do come from that similar school. But yeah, McVay does like to get away from it at times. So it is game plan specific for these guys. But I think moving forward, you got to like what you see on the ground, and even more so than that, even you got to like what you see from this defense.
Yeah, definitely the defense. Aaron Donald's probably going to be DPOY this year for the NFC side, just from what he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, solid win for them, and they're, again, they don't feel like a 9-win team, but they're in good position here.
Yeah, they're in a good position to win this West.
And once you get in the playoffs, who knows? Anything can happen.
All right, why don't we move over to Sunday now? I guess we'll have to start with the bad game here. We had the Texans get obliterated by the Chicago Bears, 36-7.
Well, at this point, Deshaun Watson's just playing with a bunch of backups. I mean,
Well, you see, Deshaun Watson actually did get he got slammed pretty hard in this one. Like he got sacked 6 times on the day.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the receiving core here. It's Chad Hansen. Is that no relation? I assume to Scott Hansen of NFL Red Zone.
I don't believe so, no. But yeah, Brandon Cooks was hurt today.
Yeah, so essentially you're having Deshaun Watson behind this leaky line trying to extend plays to throw it to guys like Kiki QT and really bunch of kinds
Stephen Mitchell Jr. like Duke Johnson, like David Johnson. This big accusation that was supposed to be traded for, he was hurt for the day.
Yeah, and that's been the story with him the last few years as well. So a tough place for, it was interesting. I was reading a recap of this game. Mike Tanier for Pro Football Network does his weekly recaps, and he kind of spun this narrative as essentially the Bears kind of trying to make a statement here for all the, crap they've gotten for drafting Trubisky and for their defense.
For passing on Watson too, but
right. But and for their, how bad their defense has been. But it's too little too late for this Bears team. And, at some point, we've talked about this a lot. You wonder how detrimental these late season wins are in the sense that do they convince your organization?
Are we going to see Matt Nagy stick around? Are we going to see Trubisky stick around? I don't think we're going to see Foles stick around.
And Ryan Pace, the general manager, Ryan Pace, the general manager as well. He's the guy that was responsible for that Trubisky pick. So our late season wins here are going to be,
Are they actually going to save everyone's job, or are we just going to, delay the inevitable? Sorry,
right?
Having a stroke.
It happens, and we've seen this, right? I mean, we've seen this with I bring it up every week with the Atlanta Falcons last year. They go on a late season run, and it convinces ownership.
It's like, all right, now we're gonna have to keep Quinn and Dimitroff for another year.
And that was the wrong decision. So, and we knew that was the wrong decision at the time. So
absolutely, it's gonna haunt them, but we're gonna have to see what happens now. But we'll get to them later.
Right. So at the end of the day, how much, I am really skeptical how much you can put into wins that are accrued when your team is already out of anything meaningful. And ultimately, that's what this win was for the Bears. It was a win, but it was
something they didn't need, unfortunately. Like Trubisky threw 3 touchdowns. That gives you false hope. Montgomery put up 113 yards. I wouldn't call that false hope, but like.
Right.
Something you don't want to you want to see what they do against the real team. Like we already knew what Allen Robinson was about when he came to this team, so he put up 123 yards receiving. That's good to see that the money well spent right there.
Right, and it has, again, Allen Robinson is stuck rotting away with no quarterback and no passing game here. I again, like you said, I think David Montgomery broke a big one early. I think having him back and healthy has made a big difference. The consistency hasn't quite been there for him, but I do think he's a building block where maybe you want to have a competition between him and maybe you draft someone and he ends up being a rotational guy.
We'll have to see what happens with the Bears. I mean, it seems like Cordero Patterson is becoming they're really third down, second down back for him too.
Yeah, you're right. Look at this. He got 6 carries today as well. So
like I said, he actually did get switched over to running back in his Patriot days, and I think the Bears saw that and said, all right, we can do that too.
Yeah. So, again, the Texans, you just feel bad. So did you say Deshaun Watson got hurt in this game?
He did come back, but they slammed him pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean he's really you got to feel for him at this
I
point.
really hope the Tex like Romeo. I get Romeo Cornell wants him to play, but I really hope that if the situation is too dire, they do try to keep him safe.
No, I think you're right. I think it's almost the point in this season where you think about shutting this kid down because you're only going to get him. I mean, he has an injury history here, and what do you gain from playing him? I
Yeah,
mean,
I'd rather not see Deshaun Watson get hurt like that and
and
rebuild the
yeah,
line.
and at the end of the day, the rest of the team is not healthy either. You have no healthy wide receivers, so you're really just throwing Deshaun Watson into the fire here.
Yeah. Well, there's only one thing the only one stat on here that really surprised me.
Yeah.
The Bears are still using Javon Wims after his random scuffle in that Saints game. I thought his ass would have been out at the door.
Yeah, that was. I mean, especially for a guy that's kind of a developmental guy. That
I was looking at the box score. He has 1 rush for 2 yards.
The other thing I think that was notable in this game is Jimmy Graham finally gets a touchdown. It comes out of the witness protection program, and again, can Jimmy Graham still run? I don't know. I haven't. I'd have to look.
Ever since he left the Saints, his career's gone downhill.
Right. I don't know if he can still run or not because I'd have to. I'm not a film guru, but at the end of the day, the thing that stood out to me about this Jimmy Graham touchdown was the fact that they finally did what the Saints seem to be the only team that knew how to use Jimmy Graham, which is split him out wide as a wide receiver and get him matched up on undersized corners. It seems like the Seahawks and the Packers kept trying to make him be a blocker, and that's not what he is.
Yeah, he was never a blocker, and I was looking at his stats. He does have 6 touchdowns on the year, so I think the Bears might be the best fit for him right now, besides the Saints.
Yeah, well, they gave him a big contract, but they are kind of thin here at wide receiver outside of Robinson. But
Yeah, big contracts don't really mean much, though, unfortunately.
yeah, that's true. So yeah, just not a very good offense and good game, but hard to tip your hat off to them when we've been watching them in prime time every week lay eggs.
Yeah, hopefully that's done. They started flexing some games out because I know the Cowboys got moved out of one of the primetime games.
Finally, flex. For the name flexible schedule, the NFL really does not have that flexible a schedule considering
It doesn't, no.
considering the fact that it really only kicks in for like the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season, but better late than never, I suppose.
So the only big news to come out of this game though is the Texans are now officially eliminated from playoffs.
All right, well there you go. Again, it's always funny when we see that because it's like, okay, no one actually thought they were still in contention at this point.
Yeah, so they are officially now out of playoff contentions.
And for the Texans, at the end of the day, it's just like, let's make a good coaching hire and
So we'll have to see what they've done. Their season's basically over.
Save the career of Deshaun Watson here because we all know he has a ton of promise.
Alrighty, why don't we move on now to another suckfest here? We had the Cowboys beating down on the Bengals 30-7. And honestly, it's a suckfest, but you know what? This was a good day for Andy Dalton. He comes back to the team that casted him aside and beat him down.
Yeah, congratulations on the Andy Dalton revenge game here.
They beat the kid in crutches, basically.
Yeah, and you almost feel like the Bengals might be wanting to have Andy Dalton right now, considering that Joe Burrow's out for the season. But I think the real story here is the Bengals. I mean, Zach Taylor now has I think 4 wins as a head coach. So again, you want to talk about Black
How many wins did he have last season? I actually don't remember.
I will look that up really quickly. But you want to talk about Black Monday and coaches that probably are going to be shown the door. I think he had 2 wins last year.
I think Zach Taylor might be out of here because he's not doing so hot anymore.
I mean, it's hard to point to one thing where you look at Zach Taylor's elevated the team here, other than kind of the pick of Joe Burrow, but that was kind of a no-brainer. You or I could have made that pick. Obviously.
Yeah, it's like you knew what the kid was about. Like you didn't really have any contingency plans for if he got hurt. You didn't protect him. You're coming up with very predictable game plans.
Yep. They're not winning late in games. I mean,
you have an ancient dinosaur and Mike McCarthy out coaching you, so I'd say you're out the door.
Yeah, and of course, the report earlier this season about Zach Taylor alienating the team and almost in an almost a Matt Patricia-like way with the way some of his assistants have.
Yeah, so with that, Bengals lose, Cowboys win. I mean, there's not much else to say. This game was just kind of atrocious on both sides. I mean, it didn't look slick for anyone.
The thing I'll say about the Cowboys is I think they managed to maybe play the one team in the league that's actually worse than they are, but don't mistake that as meaning that the Cowboys have anything to hang their hat on. And
there's nothing to hang their hat on, but sadly, we have to say they are not eliminated from playoffs. They are still in the hunt.
Yeah, that's kind of depressing right there.
Just wait until I mention who else is still in the hunt, who
Oh
else got
God.
eliminated though, because it's gonna make me upset. But
Well, the thing I'll say about the Cowboys is just quickly because they had a game against the Ravens last week where they looked absolutely awful, and Troy Aikman alluded to it on that broadcast about just how disinterested this Cowboys team looks. At the end of the day, I think it does reflect poorly on Mike McCarthy. And look, just quickly on this, I was never. I think Mike McCarthy's been a bogeyman for a bit. I wasn't a fan, but I was never a big anti-Mike McCarthy guy. I think he did do good work early in his career with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, say what you want, but it's hard to win a Super Bowl. But I just think he's one of those coaches that's past his prime and that hasn't.
he's definitely on the decline. But when he first got hired, I still call him a product of Aaron Rodgers.
I wouldn't go that far, honestly.
I unfortunately that's what I think. I think Aaron Rodgers kind of bailed him out a little too much.
Late in his career, maybe
because he did not have the best defensive plans anymore. His offense was very predictable.
I would agree late in his career. But the only thing I'll say about, again, the McCarthy of Green Bay, we can debate about that. But the McCarthy of Dallas, I believe, has just been
not great.
No, I mean the players are not interested in playing football, and
you can't blame it on him not having Dak. Even with Dak, they were losing.
No, even with that, they were a one-man show there. So, and I saw a report that Stephen Jones went on the radio to say that Mike McCarthy will be back for another year, and I think that speaks to we talk about the ego of
Jerry Boy.
Of Jerry Jones, and I almost said Jason Jones. That was wrong. I knew that didn't sound right. But yeah, Jerry Jones. Again, this was his handpicked guy, so to get rid of him after a year would be to admit to the public that you made a mistake.
Yeah, he's not going to do that yet. He's going to wait a year.
He's ready to do that, but Jim Harbaugh. I think Jim Harbaugh is staying at Michigan for now, but I don't think there's a better fit. People are talking Jets. That's a tough one. I don't think if Jim Harbaugh were to come back to the NFL, I don't think there's a better fit than the Dallas Cowboys, considering the type of physical teams Jim Harbaugh likes to play. But they're not going to go in that direction now. Maybe in a year we'll see. But
we'll see what happens. But I honestly, going to Jim Harbaugh real quick, I wish he stayed with the 49ers a little longer. Like he kind of got thrown under a bus because it wasn't really his team at that point.
He did. The owners, it was 100% a conflict with ownership. They didn't like his style. It had nothing to do with results on the football field.
Absolutely. I would love to see Jim Harbaugh come back to not the Jets.
I agree. I was arguing with my LA football crew about this, and Harbaugh. At the end of the day, people are gonna. It's tough to win at Michigan. He's gotten that program back to relevance. He hasn't gotten them over the hump, and he's underwhelmed at Michigan. But it's really hard to win at Michigan. The expectations are through the roof.
It is, but like I said, I would love to see him back in the NFL level. Just anyone, not the Jets, because the Jets. He's gonna get thrown in the same situation where ownership's gonna fuck him.
He was a better coach in the NFL than he was at college. I mean, he is number 5 all time in winning percentage in the NFL. So, does he still have it? I don't know, but it's wrong to look back at. And I think people let their feelings, and this is a tangent, but I think people, Harbaugh's a unique guy, and I get people don't like him, but I think you need to look past that and look at who he is as a coach. He's a damn good coach, and maybe in the future we'll see. Maybe in a year if he leaves Michigan, but for now, moving into next year, McCarthy's got to. I don't think he's going to, but he's got to figure out a way. Not game planning aside, just motivate this team to play football because they look terrible and disinterested.
Yeah, I was gonna say he needs to work on his strategy, but he definitely needs to work on the motivations as well.
Yeah, and their stars are not playing like stars. We've seen Ezekiel Elliott has fumbleitis, and we've seen their offensive line just looks awful. I mean,
and then we also saw Dak's ankle roll the wrong way. So
right. Even before Andy Dalton, Andy Dalton's been under pressure, but even before then, it was a one-man show with Dak. Man, I would love to see Dak get out of Dallas because they are doing what they did to him, what they did to Tony Romo.
Get him killed.
So I think there's a lot of mutual respect there. At least they will say that they don't have mutual respect in the sense that they're willing to pay him before what he deserves. So take that with a grain of salt. But I think his heart is in Dallas. But I think he would do better elsewhere.
He needs to get out of Dallas. But I know he wants to stay. He's such a nice guy. He's not going to make a stink.
Right, he is right. But I would love to see him test the market and get the kind of money he deserves because I know coming off an injury, there's always a question mark, and that may limit him.
There's plenty of other teams that'll probably respect him.
Well, when healthy, he's shown that he's a top 10 quarterback in this league, and this is again, Jerry Jones decided to play hardball and not pay him, and now he comes out and played, and he gets injured, and if that limits him in the market moving forward, that's why these players, have to take the money when they can get it. And people like to villainize players for signing contracts, but this is why owners like to screw players. So, again, people are going to say I'm biased. I'm a Giants fan. I just think this organization, I don't have a lot of respect for them. And
as a Falcons fan, I have no respect for them.
And congratulations, I guess, for beating the worst team in the league. I mean,
they didn't beat the Jets.
The second worst team in the league.
They didn't beat the Jaguars.
Well, we're splitting hairs here.
Yeah, I know. Now I'm just being
bottom five. Let's say bottom five.
I'm just being an ass at this point.
No, but we're not going to. We did it with the Bears. We're not going to sugarcoat it. If you get a late season win,
it's a bad win. That's really what it is.
Going in the wrong direction, then we're going to say it, and that's certainly there's this NFC East has been an embarrassment all around, and the Cowboys are a big part of that.
Yes, it is. All right, we went 2 bad games. Let's 3 bad games. Let's get a good one.
Let's do it.
The Chiefs beat the Dolphins 33-27.
The Chiefs. I wonder how good the Chiefs would be if they actually played their A game. Because
it was a rough game for them. Like Patrick Mahomes doubled his interception total on the year with this one game.
Right, he came in with 2 all year, so give him credit for that. It has to break at some point. But yeah, I mean they go to sleep for quarters at a time, and then they. Again, Mike Tanier on his recap wrote a really good thing. They're really good at playing Chiefs football, but not good at playing normal football. So when they're really good at like explosive plays to Tyreek Hill, but when they have to they have to just play with normal down and distance, they seem to struggle.
They seem to be confused. Now, the one thing honestly, if a team figures out how to stop Chiefs football, then this team is really going to be in trouble.
I agree, although the one caveat is that's a hard thing to do, because
it's absolutely. You're not going to see a team probably figure this out for another year or so.
Because I don't know if there's anyone in the league that can run with Tyreek Hill. I mean, at the end of the day.
No, there's no running with Tyreek Hill. He is the fastest man in this league. But speaking on that, though, I mean, the Dolphins seem to do a good job of kind of containing them as best they can, because you usually see Patrick Mahomes throw for 500 yards at a point. And, to get 3 interceptions on the guy, that's huge.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it was a mix of Dolphins defense and Chiefs doing their usual sloppy Chiefs play for half the game. But they go up, the Dolphins, I think, like you said, they did have some opportunities, but we didn't see enough on offense. I think the final numbers look good for Tua, but I think, the Chiefs go up, the Dolphins go up 10-0, and then the Chiefs,
they went up 28-10, and then the game started to, becoming a game again.
Right.
I think this was something we needed to see Tua kind of play throughout, even if he struggled.
Yeah, I think that's a solid point. I think
this was a good game for Tua to play all 60 minutes. It gave him an opportunity to learn.
Yeah, totally. And at the end of the day, I don't think he was as good as the numbers, but even so, for a rookie, 316, 2 touchdowns is pretty good. So I think you're totally right. I think you hit the nail on the head. This was a good learning game for Tua.
This is absolutely a good game for the Dolphins all around.
Yeah, and I do have some concerns about him. Late in the down when his first read isn't there, does he have the arm strength to go downfield after when the pocket is crowded and he can't step into that? But again,
we got to see that part next. But hopefully with this, we'll see a little more of Tua and he'll grow.
I am concerned about the Chiefs. I am a little concerned about their inability to run the ball here.
Tyreek Hill seemed to match Clive Edwards-Helaire in just one run. So that's kind of upsetting that, Edwards-Helaire can only put up 32 yards.
Yeah, let me see it. And I think they need to be a little – again, they came on running the football in the playoffs with Damian Williams last year, so maybe, again, they come on in the playoffs this year. But
unfortunately, it's a little hard. They probably are missing Damian Williams right now.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's fair.
Le'Veon only put up 21 yards.
I would love to see them get Le'Veon Bell a little more involved. Nothing like 15 plus carries, but instead of 3 carries, give him 10 carries.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he's getting used as much as he did on the Jets.
Yeah. So, but there was, as much as we want to dunk on the Chiefs here, they continue to win in ways that no one else would. There's a stat here that I saw on Twitter. Since the start of 19, this is an amazing stat, Sam. Since the start of 2019, the Chiefs are now 8-1 with Patrick Mahomes at QB after failing behind by 10 plus points. The rest of the NFL is 68, 30, 356, and 1. combined when trailing by 10 plus points. So that's an 88% winning percentage for Patrick Mahomes when trailing by 10 plus points, and a 16% winning percentage for the rest of the league. So, they can come back with the best of them. We're just waiting to see them play a full game here because, playing half a game is good enough for them to be 12-1, but can they put it all together for a full game here? And I'm just pulling up the game logs for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He had that 100-plus yard rushing game in Week 1 against Houston. He had a 100-plus yard game against Buffalo. But in recent weeks it hasn't been good for them. Those are the only 200-plus yard games. So, and he did have 60 plus 64 yards, 64. He was more productive early in the season as well.
He was. He's definitely taking a step back. I think teams are starting to figure him out.
I'd love to see them running the ball more. So a little concerned for the Chiefs. If it was another team, I'd be a lot concerned. But I trust in Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes to figure it out. But good game by the Dolphins in making a rally here. But if you're the Chiefs, let's just play 60 minutes of football here and then
so we'll see. But with that, also with the win, the Kansas City Chiefs are now the AFC West champions, 5th straight year in a row.
Wow.
So they're now solidified in there. I think now they're just playing for the number 1 seed.
5th year in a row. That's tough to do, man.
It is rough. It is rough.
And that's pre-Mahomes too. That's
pre-Mahomes with Alex Smith. They were doing it.
Yeah. So again, we talk about how impressive it is the Patriots every year before this year winning the division. I mean, that's 5 straight years in a row. That's impressive.
All right, let's talk about another division leader at the time. The Giants were supposed to take on the Cardinals, but I guess they didn't show up for that one. They lost 26-7. Do you want to take the lead on this one?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, question: has Kyler been hurt? Because do we know that?
Kyler?
Yeah, Kyler Murray.
I can look that up for you while you're doing your stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So Daniel Jones comes back in this game, and look, the Giants, they haven't been winning up to this point with offense, right? Even when they beat the Seahawks, it was a 17-12 game. So it's been all defense for them, and in this game they got out, or the Cardinals rather got out to a big lead, and they couldn't put together anything on offense whatsoever. Colt McCoy actually did get some snaps here. Again, I've said it every week. They're one of the least talented offenses in the NFL. I'm trying to pull up a quote, which is why I'm okay. Here we go. So this is also from Mike Tanier, and I read this yesterday, and I thought it rung true. So I'm just going to read it here. The Giants entered the game on a 4-game winning streak, and general manager Dave Gettleman was starting to get some respect from the football world for having assembled a pretty good defense and a promising 2020 draft class. Jones' return to his fumbling ways was a reminder that Gettleman also drafted Jones, who will likely hold the Giants back for the foreseeable future, and that wins against the Bengals and NFC East opponents are not a reliable tool for appraising the performance of a general manager. So I think that hit the nail on the head right there. And, there are a lot of Giants fans, when we were on that winning streak, essentially saying that Daniel Jones was taking a step forward, and that was indicative. And I said, at the end of the day, this is the NFC East, and wins against the Bengals in the NFC East aren't indicative of much. And with Daniel Jones, he's in a tough situation. We get it. But the problem here is, Sam, that he has a fumbling issue, and even when he was playing well last year, he still had a fumbling issue, and he hasn't turned that around, and he hasn't corrected it. And I know the offensive line is terrible, and I know he's under pressure on just about each and every snap. But he has no pocket awareness, and he looks like a deer in headlights when the rush is coming. Sorry, I'm just moving around here. My roommate just got him. He looks like a deer in the headlights when the rush is coming, and he just holds onto this ball. And I don't think you can teach pocket awareness, Sam. I think it's one of those things you either have or you don't. And unfortunately, at this point, Daniel Jones does not seem to have it. And when there's a free rusher, it's over. You know he's going to fumble. So whatever the answers are in this offense to that, what are your hot reads? What are your sight adjustments when they're bringing the house? Because the Cardinals were bringing the house, and they didn't have the answers. And Daniel Jones had 3 fumbles in this game. And this is, he always makes a couple throws a game that show you the potential. But this is an issue that he is still young, but this deep into his second season, he hasn't corrected, and it's pretty concerning, honestly, because it's a pretty rudimentary thing when it comes to holding on to the football, and you, you know, it just kills you, almost kills you more than an interception because they get the ball at the spot. It's not like you're throwing it down the field. So that remains a problem for him, and unfortunately, you know, we're not going to be in a position to draft a really good quarterback. We're probably, like Mike Tanier said in his recap, we're probably going to get another year of Daniel Jones. And you know, I just, you can't have a quarterback that turns the football over like he does. So a good reality check for the Giants, but you know, I don't know what to say other than it's a problem. It's a serious problem.
Absolutely is. So I did look up real quick. Kyler Murray seems like he's been suffering with a shoulder injury, I guess, for a little bit.
Yeah, so that partially explains his struggles. You know, I only asked because I didn't know that, and my friend texted me the night before, and he was like, and you know, to do a little trash talking, and he was like, "Are you ready for Kyler Murray to beat up on you guys with one shoulder?" And I wasn't sure what he was referring to, but there you go.
Yeah, so he had a shoulder injury that he suffered in the Thursday Night Football loss to the Seahawks, and he's been kind of struggling with it. My takes from the game, though, real quick. It looks like DeAndre Hopkins definitely had some more targets in this one. He's very on and off, it seems like.
Yeah.
When it comes to the Giants, I thought Daniel Jones was going to sit out one more week because I thought he still had that leg injury.
Yeah.
So I was shocked to see him in there. He definitely needs to work on his hands.
Yeah.
Since he's definitely dropping the ball a little bit. And I'm noticing here that, you know, the Wayne Gallman didn't seem to step up, and I've noticed that whenever Wayne Gallman seems to have a good day, the Giants have a good day.
He had an okay day, but, you know, they got down and they couldn't commit.
Yeah, so, you know what? I feel like they have a good receiving group. It's just, it feels like he can't throw the ball. Because, like, Golden Tate, he's not Odell Beckham, but he's still solid. Darius Slayton's pretty good. Like, Sterling Shepard's all right.
It's, you know, we need more receivers.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not... It's a good trio, but like you're banking on them, and they seem to get hurt a lot. So
it's just the big thing about Daniel Jones last year, especially compared to the aging Eli Manning, was his decisiveness. As he was, you know, there were times he held it too long, but generally, you know, he was throwing at the intermediate levels. He was being aggressive and turning it loose. And this year, he's looked more like what he looked at, and it was a pleasant surprise. And this year, he's looked more like what he looked like at Duke, which is just, you know, holding on to the football, staring at the field, not knowing what he's seeing, not being decisive. And when you have this kind of poor offensive line play, which again I'm not discounting that's an issue too.
It's a big thing. Like, unfortunately, yeah, he has got a fumbling problem. He's also got a looking at the turf problem.
Yeah, when you have this kind of poor offensive line play, what I was going to say is that you know, you have to be more decisive. And Daniel Jones he's a sitting duck. He just sits there, and you know he's good, and you know he's about to get hit. And so again, I don't know if it's inexperience or what, but I struggle to look at this year and be confident that Daniel Jones is the answer for this franchise moving forward. You know, again, I liked his rookie year. I felt good about him coming into the season. There were questions, as there are for other young quarterbacks, and early in the season, I was, you know, willing to give him a pass because of our horrendous skill players and because of our offensive line and our inability to run the football. It's a bad offense. I'm not discounting that, but you know, at the end of the day, he's not giving you any production in the passing game. And he has these two flaws in that he just doesn't. He's just holding on to the football, and he has no awareness, and he's fumbling. It's like clockwork. It's a problem. It's, you know, it's at this point it needs to be corrected. And if he can't correct it, which I'm skeptical that he can, then we need a different quarterback.
Yeah, he's no Eli. He doesn't have Eli magic.
Well, Eli Manning. Yeah, that was just a joke, so I won't get into that.
It was absolutely a joke.
The Eli Manning comparisons were very off, okay? That is all I'll say. You know, because Eli...
I'm not saying he's Eli. I'm just saying Eli's got some magic on him that Daniel Jones does not have.
No, but Giants fans have made that comparison. And
that's a stupid comparison. I wouldn't compare them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In terms of the demeanor and in terms of, Eli struggled in his first few years. Yeah, well, Eli had... was not generational, but he was a number one overall pick because he had special arm talent. So when you have the kind of arm talent Eli Manning has, then you can deal with, you know, some of the things we dealt with Eli in terms of turnovers. But Daniel Jones doesn't have that. He has an okay arm. He has a solid arm, but
he's not Eli Manning. He's not Eli Manning.
But it's tough, you know. Like if we had been, I said this, we had been in position to take the kid
Kyler.
The kid from Ohio State this next year.
Dwayne Haskins. Justin Fields.
Yeah, if we had been in position to take Justin Fields, then I would have 100% said go for it. but he's not going to be there, and there's a big drop off after him. So now that we've won a few more games, it's unfortunately
they're knocked out of the top 10, I believe, in the draft order.
right now. It's unfortunately looking like maybe we have to give Jones another year, and I'd love to see him develop, but he's at this point he's it's not good, Sam. It's not good.
It's not, unfortunately. All right, why don't we move on to some more playoff teams here? The Vikings had to take on the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers beat them 26-14. Tom Brady, he had a few deep balls, but it looks like, he did solid. He didn't look great on those deep balls. Kirk Cousins looked like he got beaten and battered.
Yes, he did. He got beaten and battered. But let's go back to the Bucs for a sec. It feels like this Bucs offense, what concerns me about them is they're not getting better. Like they feel like doesn't it feel like they've peaked already? Like
yeah, one thing I've noticed in their previous games, I feel like once they hit, I may be wrong on this. I'm gonna double check it, but I feel like they haven't really broken 26 in a while.
Yeah, I'll check that for you right now.
No, I'm looking at it right now. The most they've scored in a game was 45 against the Raiders, and they really peak around 20.
46 against the Panthers.
46. All right, so they've gone maybe twice scoring over 40, 3 times over 30, but 20 seems to be their magic number.
Well, yeah, since that Panthers win, they've lost 24-27, 24-27, and now just a 26-14 win. And yeah, it feels like Tom Brady ultimately, he looked better. I don't want, maybe it was just the competition, but he had that good game against the Chargers. He had that good game against the Packers and the Raiders. And that's it, really, for Brady. I mean, he was in this game. He was 15-23 for 196 and 2 touchdowns. That's not great. You'd like to see more production from your passing game. So and the other thing, Sam, is in the never-ending quest for the 2020 refs to help out Tom Brady. We saw it a couple weeks ago against the Ram game where he got a couple fumbles that were ruled incomplete passes. What happened in this game is that they had a pass interference on a Hail Mary, which never happens. Never.
Yeah, that was kind of BS.
Never, ever happens. So, the refs are giving all Tom Brady help. He still can't seem to do anything with it. Here's another one for you, Sam. Here's one. Scotty Miller, 48 yards on 1 reception. Antonio Brown, 49 yards on 5 receptions. I'll just leave that one to you.
He threw a deep bomb to Scotty Miller.
Scotty Miller, the arrival of Antonio Brown, which was always
still iffy. It's not like it hasn't been like the move of the century. It's still iffy.
Antonio Brown has taken Scotty Miller's place, and Scotty Miller was the target Tom Brady was most comfortable throwing to. So and now
I'm not going to say that actually.
They're not going to give Scotty Miller more touches because they need to feed Antonio Brown. Otherwise, why'd you bring him in? So that was a mistake really by Tom Brady to go out.
Tom really wanted Antonio Brown, but why? He never really had that chemistry with Antonio Brown like he did with Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, or with even Gronk.
And even Scotty Miller. Scotty, they were building. So it reeked of desperation, and you're seeing the result of that. This late in the season, maybe I sound harsh today, but this late in the season, we're not going to, praise people for, we're not going to do any puffery. This was a bad Viking team that Tampa really just, again, their passing game does not look good, and there's not much in this game to feel good about. On the Viking side of the ball, you can say really is that Dan Bailey's in a slump.
Dan Bailey. My God, that poor man.
He missed 3 field goals and an extra point, so he's either injured or he's just in a slump. Another thing Tom Brady seems really good at is playing on teams where the opposing kicker seems to miss for him. But again, that has nothing to do with Tom Brady. So.
I think Tom paid off Dan Bailey to do that.
Well, let's just think about this.
Dan Bailey's been having issues. Like last week when he was playing the Jaguars, he missed a few.
Oh, he's in a slump. But 4 missed kicks. That is 3 field. So hold on. Yeah, 3 missed field goals and a missed extra point. That's 10 points on the board. So maybe this game plays out differently if he doesn't miss those kicks. Vikings. I don't know. People are saying, because of that, the Vikings are out of the playoff race. Well, the Vikings were never a good team to start with, and they're
still in the playoff race.
Yeah, and they were bad. That was a hole they dug for themselves. So I don't have anything to say about them. But for Tampa, I am still concerned.
It's Vikings have a very uphill battle. Can they do it? Maybe. I don't know. One thing I was looking up while we were going through all this too. So I know the Buccaneers are. I kind of compared them to that 2011 Eagles team, the Dream Team that they called it, or what Vince Young called it.
Yeah, I remember.
Mean, right now they're 8-5, so they might be looking a little better than that team, but they seem to be about on par with them, minus the playoffs that they might make.
I like that comparison a lot.
I mean, they both have Shady McCoy, so.
I mean, I thought McCoy was on the Chiefs. Is he in Tampa now?
Shady Mr. Sean McCoy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had 4 carries for 32 yards.
Oh, I didn't know he still existed.
Yeah, the Chiefs let him go, and the Buccaneers picked him up.
Yeah, so I think that's a really good comparison because often, whenever it's too good to be true, it probably is. And I think we get a little too confounded with like rosters that look good on paper, especially with receivers. And we were saying it, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, similar to the Browns last year where we're saying,
with Odell and Jarvis.
Jarvis Landry. And at the end of the day, Beckham's still struggling with injury. The line still sucks. And Baker has a sophomore slump. Similar to this year, right? Tom Brady's old. The scheme isn't a great fit. The line is not very good. So there's more to a team than wide receivers, and I think this is a great example of that. So yeah, I definitely.
I was gonna say like Vince Young called them the Dream Team, and they finished 8-8, didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah, they had a late season. They had a late season kind of rejuvenation, but early on they.
Yeah, I mean the Bucs. What they're gonna play the Falcons twice and the Lions. They're gonna make the playoffs. But if they have to run into the Saints or even the fucking the Seahawks, they're probably gonna get routed right there.
They can't throw the football. They can't throw the football.
Yeah, so, even if they find the Packers again, they might play the Packers again. The Packers might even take them down.
They're not gonna beat them. Yeah. Well, they did beat the Packers once.
They beat them. Yeah, they beat them once, but we've seen teams win against them in the regular season, but then come in the playoffs to beat that same team.
Right. And that's the thing is Aaron Rodgers. That was a season worst game for Aaron Rodgers. It's hard to imagine Aaron Rodgers having 2 duds against the same team in the same season.
Yeah, you don't see it. I mean, Aaron Rodgers back in 2011, they lost to the Falcons regular season. They came back to put up 45 in the playoffs to go on to win the Super Bowl.
2010, yeah.
2010, my bad. I'm off by a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so unfortunately, this Buccaneers team is going to hit a brick wall when playoffs come.
Yeah, unless they turn around this passing game. But like I said, Tom Brady looks old. The offensive line is not good. The scheme is not good. And the Antonio Brown taking Scotty Miller's place has not helped them. It's actually made them worse. So the only good thing here was they did give Ronald Jones some carries. But he
had some 18 carries, 80 yards, not too bad.
But he's also very week to week. And Tom Brady is 14th in QBR. So and that seems to check out. That's a little about average, a little better than average is what Tom Brady is playing right now.
Yeah.
But certainly not the Tom Brady we've expected. And it's late in the season. Enough with they didn't have an off season. It's okay, but it's late in the season. Time to figure this thing out.
Yeah, we're past the preseason excuses now.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, why don't we talk about 2 teams that are technically still in the playoff hunt, but we know are not going to make it.
Okay.
The Carolina Panthers lost to the Denver Broncos 32-27. Both teams technically still in the hunt.
In the hunt, right? Yeah.
They're in the hunt. That means nothing because both these teams are kind of doo-doo.
Teddy Bridgewater has looked a little off since coming back from injury, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. I think that he's a bit of an injury scare right now, especially since he worked so hard to come back from injury.
Right.
Came back to the Saints, and he didn't get so hit hard on the Saints.
For years, yeah. He was 30 of 40, but for just 283 yards, no touchdowns. And I will do the math real quick on that.
7.1.
You're correct.
I have the box score up with the average.
Okay, thank you for that. Mike Davis is a little week to week. So Drew Lock, at least statistically, probably his best game of the year, and maybe as a pro. But I don't know, Sam. I mean, watching that, it's good. It's good that and you picked Denver again. This was again one of those weird games where I'm like, what are you doing? And
it was up in the air. You never really thought.
So congratulations.
I picked Denver. You know what? I didn't expect KJ Hamler was the guy who really had the big day today.
I've said it since the beginning of the season. They have a really good receiving core. But for Drew Lock, I don't know, Sam. Statistically, it's great. 21 of 27, 284 touchdowns. But watching this, I just felt like his receivers were just wide open.
Yeah, the Panthers defense was not holding up strong.
They've been bad. They've been bad this year. I mean, they've been very leaky. They got to do something about that. The only plus side is here that they're Melvin Gordon seems to have found his legs here. So again, maybe we'll see. I would like to see another year for Vic Fangio. I mean, I don't know if he'll get one, but I wouldn't mind.
He might not. I don't know what John Elway's thinking in his head, but
it seems a little early to give up. Doesn't it?
I think if the Denver Broncos finish last in the AFC West, Vic Fangio is probably going to be out. If they finish in third, he might stick around.
Yeah, but they're definitely showing improvement compared to where they were earlier in the season.
Yeah, so there's not really much else to say about this. Like, the Panthers are missing Christian McCaffrey. The Broncos are missing a team. Definitely missing Von Miller. They're definitely missing Von Miller.
Yeah.
So, it was just it's a game. It was a game. They played.
Yeah. Solid win for Denver. Let's see, again, let's see. Like you said, let's see what they are for the.
Look, they're still in the playoff hunt, so we can't say they're out yet. But I want to see what they do with this coming off season, because the Broncos are probably going to be eliminated this coming week.
Yeah, so let's see what they and Drew Lock, if they can, not even win, but if they can stay competitive. If we're looking for signs for improvement, that's what.
That's what we need.
Yeah.
All right. AFC South matchup for the Titans this week. They blew out the Jaguars 31-10.
Jesus Christ! Well, first of all, you've been talking about where's Doug, why they got rid of Doug Marrone. Reports are Doug Marrone could stay.
Yeah, they said that last week, actually.
It's weird. I don't have anything personally against Doug Marrone. I thought he was actually a good coach for early in his career. He did good work with the Bills before he quit.
He's fallen off a cliff here. Like, the 2017 season for the Jaguars seemed to be like
right, and he was great. He was great that year, but they're 1-12. Glennon comes in and Minshew comes back. I don't think the quarterback of the future is on this roster.
No, but all three quarterbacks are probably going to be gone after this.
I would be surprised if they did not draft Justin Fields.
Honestly, I'd be surprised if they. Honestly, so they have Keelan Cole's not too bad of a receiver. DJ Chark's doing all right, and Tyler Eifert seems to be a solid tight end. But the quarterback situation they have here is just really rough.
Right. Well, that's why I'd expect they're gonna have.
You'd expect them to do that, but this is also the Jaguars team that kind of screws up.
Yeah. Right. That's fair.
They drafted a cornerback who doesn't even like tackling.
Tyler Eifert is such a what-if story, isn't he?
He's the biggest what-if.
For that year in Cincy, he was so good, Sam. When they went to the playoffs before Andy Dalton got hurt, and they lost the game where Antonio Brown got lit up by
Vontaze Burfict.
Yeah. Cincinnati.
Side note, he got arrested a few weeks ago.
It doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
Yeah.
But I do not know. I mean, Cincinnati. I have trouble recalling his name because Cincinnati under Marvis Lewis has had so many people, so many, bad character people that I had trouble keeping up. But yeah, no, that season when that hit cost them that playoff game without Andy Dalton, that was the year Tyler Eifert had. I'm actually going to look it up real quick, but he is such a what if story, Sam, because he came out as an athlete, a guy who could split out wide.
It was rough for him.
But yeah, he just hasn't been able to stay healthy. But let's just okay. So 2015 for Tyler Eifert, he had 13 touchdowns.
Yeah. He played 13 games, 52 receptions. He had 72 targets, 615 yards, 13 touchdowns. He had a long of 31. It's not too bad.
I mean, we talk about Jimmy Graham in the sense of being a guy that you can split out and throw to in the red zone and use a size advantage. I mean, that was who Tyler Eifert was. He was.
The only thing I will say is he's only played one full season in his career.
Well, that's why he's a bit. It's all it's because of injuries and those 13 touchdowns. That was Andy Dalton had 25 on the year, so that was more than half of Andy Dalton's touchdowns. So but hey, career's not over. Let's see what he can do.
Hopefully, this Jaguars team will treat him right.
Jaguars are the Jaguars. The Titans, oh man, Derrick Henry. He should not be MVP because in this day and age, you almost want a separate if there was a separate MVP for non-quarterbacks, because the quarterback, I don't have any problem with quarterbacks winning MVP every year or winning the Heisman every year, because in this day and age they are the most.
It's a quarterback's league. But the one thing is, hopefully, all right, they could give the MVP to Patrick Mahomes, but at least give him the Offensive Player of the Year, something.
Well, that's why it's like there needs to be like a second award because 26 carries, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, and Tannehill. I mean, there were a couple games around this season, but Tannehill was just 24 pass attempts on the day, with just 212 yards. I mean, it's old school football for the Tennessee Titans. This is not 2020 aired out. This is
No,
like
they rewinded the clock. Like Derrick Henry has 1,500 yards on the year right now. He's first in the league.
it's really. I mean, it sort of reminds you a bit of that DeMarco Murray season he had in Dallas Romo's last year, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, with that amazing O line.
Yeah, I mean, Henry, he's just a tank. I mean, he is an absolute tank. And if AJ Brown got back 7 receptions, 112 yards and a touch, so they've been inconsistent at times, but they have all the pieces to make a deep playoff run.
I mean, yeah, they've been inconsistent, but they know they at least beat down the team that they should have beat down at least.
Yeah, yeah. So it's again, which Titans team shows up in the playoffs. I think their ceiling is as high as anyone as if they can play their style of football.
Yeah, they definitely are going to have to figure that out.
And let's see how Stephen Gostkowski do. Yeah, Stephen Gostkowski was 1 for 1.
He was 1 for 1. They didn't really ask him to do much today.
4 for 4 on extra points, so maybe he's starting to find his groove a little bit.
Yeah, maybe this could be a good Titans team. We just got to know what happens in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's just they just got to show up.
That's it. Yeah, just need a full head of steam.
Yeah.
So this will mark the first 4 o'clock game that happened on Sunday.
Okay.
The Colts beat down the inconsistent Raiders, the 44-27.
Well, the Raiders are really for the
inconsistent.
second game in a row, are really, but they're really falling off a cliff for the second half of the year.
Yeah, they lost to the bad Falcons team, almost lost to the Jets team, and then get a beat down by the Colts.
They got blown out by the bad Falcons team, and
it was right after the Broncos game. Really, is when they kind of are faltering here now.
Yeah, no, I mean, the 2019. Okay, so last year they started the season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 4 through 11 weeks, and then they finished the season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 and 6 in the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, did they lose to the Jets and that caused a downhill spiral?
Blown out by the Jets, blown out by the Chiefs, blown out by the Titans, and in last year. And so, are we seeing a repeat of that with John Gruden? Because this year, they start the year strong. I mean, they tough loss against the Patriots and Bills and Tampa when they didn't have a team, but then they blow out Denver.
I was gonna say 6-3 before they hit the Chiefs.
Yeah, and a close loss to the Chiefs. I mean, they did not play the Chiefs poorly by any means, but then
after that loss, they get blown out and then blown out 2 weeks later.
And they almost lost to the Jets last week. If not for the play that got Greg Williams fired. So I mean they the Jets were winning that game until there were 4 seconds left. So this is concerning for the Raiders. Their defense is nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor ran for 150 yards on him.
Jonathan Taylor is becoming the bell cow, and I'm glad to see it early in the season. He was in the doghouse a bit, but he's becoming the guy he was at Wisconsin, which is a power back, and this is a disciplined Colts team that plays physical football. He had 20 carries for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he had a run. I think it was in the third quarter that really was a long run that put this game away for them. And Nyheim Hines is a nice compliment. He had 7 carries for 58 yards. Rivers was efficient on the day, which he's generally been on this year. And Rodrigo Blankenship leads the league in scoring, and he was 3 for 3 in field goals and 5 for 5 on extra points, and he's handling kickoff duties as well now. So again, a good Colts team that sort of like the Titans, doesn't show up every week. But
this AFC South, 2 teams here, are very inconsistent.
But when they're on their game, they're similar to the Titans. They're a physical team, and Jonathan.
Yeah, those two are very similar in style. When it comes to the Raiders, I thought getting Josh Jacobs was going to be getting him back was going to be a huge boost for the Raiders, but it really wasn't.
It wasn't, and that probably has a little bit to do with the Colts defense because he's been pretty good for most of the year, and maybe.
Well, Josh Jacobs got shut down against the Falcons, so I don't know what happened on that one.
Well, maybe he's still a little hurt then. Possibly.
He could be a little hurt.
Yeah, but again, Nelson Aguilar getting more downfield targets than Henry Ruggs here.
Yeah, I don't get that one still. I mean, Aguilar had 100 yards receiving. I thought Ruggs was supposed to be the deep threat.
Yeah, I mean, he was at Bama. So I don't know if that's Carr or if that's Gruden or if that's play design or if that's what. But outside of that late play against the Jets and that first game against the Chiefs, it hasn't worked out so far. And then one note on the Colts here, because people are, again, we mentioned this last week. It's a bit of a tangent, so I'll make it quick. But there's going to be a lot of talk about Wentz to the Colts because of Frank Reich. I do not think that's a good move. I think that'd be a downgrade. As good as the Colts O-line is, I still think it would, again, take on. I don't think they will, because that contract, who wants to take that on? But the other thing, Sam, with the Colts and with the Carson Wentz, if that happens, is if you want a quarterback that is a tall statue with a strong arm, inconsistent accuracy, and high upside, they already drafted that guy in Jacob Eason, except they're paying him probably pennies compared to what they'd have to pay Wentz. So if you want to do that, just go with Eason, but don't break the bank for Wentz here. And I wouldn't be surprised if Rivers was back for another year. I mean, again, I think you and I are maybe the only remaining members of the Rivers fan club here, but I think he's doing okay.
He's doing all right for what he was asked to do. I mean,
for what he needs to do, right? For what he's being asked to do is
we knew he was only going to be like, he's a filler for right now.
Yeah, but they're 9-4. I mean, again, you can. He's a game manager, but and again, I think he does a lot. This is sort of a lost art with all these mobile quarterbacks, but something I've seen late in their careers from Philip Rivers, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and even Ben Roethlisberger to a degree now, is that they're very good before the snap. Even if physically they're not all there, and I know you have to be there physically, but Rivers is very good at getting rid of the ball and identifying fronts and getting into the right running play and throwing with anticipation to the right guys. And I know that's kind of a lost art, but I still think that mental side of the game matters, especially when you get older. And he still does that part of the game as well as anyone. And that's something that even when their arms were shot, Eli Manning and Peyton Manning both did very well. And that's again, I'm just comparing it to a potential Carson Wentz who literally holds onto the ball for years. Rivers is going to get rid of the ball, and he's going to generally find the right matchup.
If these quarterbacks want to play as long as Tom Brady, Phil, and Ben, they got to learn how to do that at some point.
And that doesn't happen. That happens over 10 years of play. That you can't learn that in a year, right? That is something that takes time to learn, and that's why you have these dinosaurs that they've learned the game. I mean, Tony Romo. Why is Tony Romo such a good analyst? Because he played.
He knew how to do that. The only issue is he got tired of getting fucking smacked.
Right. He played quarterback for 10 plus years, so he knows how to see the field. I mean, people underestimate the mental side of this game, and Philip Rivers does that as well as anyone. But yeah, good win by the Colts. I mean, I like this Colts team. I really do.
Yeah, well, we'll see what they do. They still have a deep playoff push probably to make, so we can't say, like, let's see what happens in the offseason. Let's see what happens in the playoffs for them.
And they are well coached, and they have drafted well, and that's a good combination.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue on with we can easily skip this. Like, we could do, like, a brief note. The Seahawks, beat the children of the Jets here 40-30.
Geno Smith even got some playing time against his former team.
I was kind of hoping Geno Smith would just punch someone.
Yeah.
Screw it, punch him.
Jets couldn't finish drives. They couldn't even kick field goals.
What was it that the kicker they have keeps he is not good.
Well, Sam Thicken's hurt.
Sergio Castillo.
Yeah, he
is actually really bad.
It's been a journey at that position, and they can't block up front. If they're getting Trevor Lawrence in, they better do something about this offensive line, man. Because Trevor Lawrence is
you're gonna kill that kid's career immediately if that O-line sticks as it is.
He's going to get murdered. Again, I think the Seahawks. I don't think this says much. I actually think it was closer than the final score for a lot of this game, but they ran away with it, and they could have won this game sleepwalking. Darnold. I think most people have kind of understood that it's going to be Trevor Lawrence.
The Jets. I think everyone, even no matter who you are, you're checked out on Darnold already. He clearly is not the future of the Jets. And
let's see where he goes. I think it's going to be again for a struggling. I think it'd be system fit. I think he would have to go to I say this every week, a Shanahan-like offense where again that'd be great for any quarterback, but especially for him. We'll see what happens. I was going to toss us. Todd McShay and Mel Kiper were talking about what if the Jets win a game and then it's Fields instead of Lawrence. Would they then keep Darnold? And I was going to talk about that with you, but I don't think we even need to go there because I don't think it's possible for this Jets team to even win a game. So
the only thing that could possibly happen, they're playing the Rams, they're playing the Browns, so those are easy losses right there. The only one I'm gonna say is the Patriots, because we talked about this a few weeks ago, where Bill Belichick might throw a game so they don't have the opportunity to get Trevor Lawrence.
We'll be watching that one with great eager.
I honestly if the Jaguars still only have one win, I think Bill Belichick might take a dive for that reason.
We talked about this the other week. I think it's not only possible. I would say it's plausible.
So we'll see what happens. Bill Belichick knows how to play the future.
Yes, he does.
All right, now that we're done with talking about that, I mean, the Seahawks were the Seahawks. Can't really say much about them.
Yeah, no.
All right, NFC North matchup: Packers versus the Lions.
Doesn't this feel like this is the score whenever the Packers and Lions play these days?
I cannot hear you. What?
I said, doesn't it feel like this is the score whenever the Packers and Lions play these days?
Yeah. I think the Lions can keep up with them, but they can never finish.
Well, it's usually they make it close, but the Packers are always in control. It's usually it looks close, but it's not really close. And again, another smooth win for the Packers. They keep under the radar adding these wins, and I think that's who they want to be. Aaron Rodgers, 26 of 33 for 290 and 3 touchdowns. Now people are going to want to make this an MVP fight between Rodgers and Mahomes, but
nope.
I'm
going to stop you right there, buddy.
Yeah, no, I'm saying no, it's not. I'm agreeing with you. I think, but you're going to hear that. That's why you're already hearing it because people like to do that at the end of the season. But I still think, even with the 3-pick game by Mahomes, I still think the Tampa game takes it out of contention for Rodgers, which is not to say that he hasn't had a phenomenal turnaround season, because he has. And for years, I do attribute it to coaching and scheme, but I also attribute it to Rodgers. I mean, I don't think we can just say Mike McCarthy was the reason they sucked. I mean, for years, since his last MVP season, Rodgers has not been the same, and the play action numbers were particularly horrible. And it's throwback Rodgers. I mean, on play action, all of a sudden they are. I think I saw something like 18 touchdowns and no picks for Rodgers on play action. It's been a total 180. So I give credit to Aaron Rodgers for buying into the system, which was a big question mark and which wasn't something he was totally doing last year. And I think, honestly, Sam, I think drafting Jordan Love was the best thing this organization could have done for Aaron Rodgers, because we're all saying it's going to create a lot of drama, but I think what it did was light a fire under Aaron Rodgers. He had
mad. He pissed.
He had a chip on his shoulder, and he proved that he's still elite this season. I mean,
Aaron Rodgers is absolutely livid. He's trying to take out his frustration by winning a bunch of games for this Packers team.
Yeah, and other than that, it was a typical game. Aaron Rodgers was good. Aaron Jones was good. Jamal Williams, played. Devontae Adams did Devontae Adams things. They continue to utilize Tanyan here.
I believe also with this win, I believe they clinched a division.
And Aaron Rodgers,
I am correct. Yes, the Packers are the NFC North Division champions.
And Aaron Rodgers is first in QBR over Patrick Mahomes by 0.2 points. So that's how small the margin is. But he's been phenomenal. And I just to illustrate what I was saying about him kind of not being as good in recent years. His QBR is over 80 for the first time since 2011. So that means this season. So his QBR is actually says he's playing better this year by 0.4 points than his 2011 record-setting season. I don't know about that, but so that means it's especially good. But it was good. His last MVP season it was 78.3, and then it hasn't. The last 3 years, Sam, from 2017 through 2019, it was 64, 54, and 55, and then it takes a 30-point jump to 85. So can't underestimate the leap that Aaron Rodgers has made and how he's gotten. It's been again turn the clock back here for him, and not a lot on the Lions. Did Stafford get hurt in this game?
Yes, because Chase Daniel did come in for a bit.
So again, you mentioned how he's been a little bit more injury prone in recent years. That's also not something you want to see.
No, this Detroit team, get a new coach, get a new line, and go from there.
Yeah.
Alrighty. The team that they were reversing for the number 1 seed, the Saints, they lose a close one to the Eagles, 24-21. Jalen Hurts comes out and wins a game.
This was a shocker. The Eagles. To their credit, the Eagles have always played the Saints well. Um, they've always played them tight when you look at their matchups over the years. But this hurt for the Saints because they are now, Sam. They lose the 1 seed.
They are now the 2nd seed to the Green Bay Packers,
They
and
need-
they don't win the division yet.
They need. It's shocking because they've been so dominant this whole year. They need Drew Brees back yesterday. But they need him back right now because as much as Taysom Hill has progressed, he's not Drew Brees. And you
No,
saw
and
that.
honestly, they said Drew Brees might not even be back for the Chiefs game.
Oh man. So it really, you hate to see it for the Saints because
Honestly,
you know,
if Drew Brees wasn't there, I'd be hating on the Saints.
right. Well, yeah, that's true.
If Drew Brees was not the quarterback of this team, my narrative of this team would be probably something drastically different. Like, we're rivals with them, but I think Michael Thomas is a piece of shit, to be honest.
Why is that?
Because he's such a he complains like that people don't give him credit when he's like the number 1 receiver in the league, but he's also the one getting most of the balls when Drew Brees is on the field.
Yeah,
So I honestly think he's just a bit of a jackass.
that's fair.
Around them, though, I feel like if Michael Thomas wasn't there, I feel like this team would be fine if Drew Brees was still slinging the ball, because I think Emmanuel Sanders, Alvin Kamara, Jared Cook, they're all still like good players to have, and I think Michael Thomas just being there, he's just a jackass and all of around.
All right.
So that's my thought on him. But Drew Brees makes my image of this team much higher.
No, totally. I mean, I went to school in New Orleans, but I am not by no means a Saints fan. But you want to see him succeed because we know it's nearing the end for him. But
Yeah.
Eagles. I mean, it's funny. This whole team just talk about a spark. This whole team seems to just want to play for backup quarterbacks, whether it be Nick Foles or Jalen Hurts. I mean, so it's just a totally different.
Something about Wentz, it's hurting them because they could not play well against him.
They just don't. They don't. And it's been it was a totally different Eagles team today. I mean, it was 100. I mean, we talked about Carson Wentz. Doug Peterson, how bad they look, how uninspired they look, and it was a totally different team. Miles Sanders. I mean, Hurts was efficient through the air, and even though it wasn't a huge performance through the air, I still don't think they win with Wentz because the big thing, Sam. Here's the thing with Hurts, which is shocking considering that Wentz has 50+ sacks. Jalen Hurts 0 sacks on the day.
Yeah, well, I think Hurts was able to. He was efficiently able to move, as well.
Yeah, he had 100+ yards rushing on the day.
So Jalen Hurts definitely has better legs than Wentz right now.
Oh, easily, and he did as well as he could in his first start. And I think this Eagles team just likes playing for backup quarterbacks. But all of a sudden, we're seeing with the Saints, and we'll talk about the Steelers in a bit too. But the season's not over, and teams that we just assumed were going to cruise to the 1 seed or the playoffs.
It's starting to change narrative.
Yeah, and without Drew Brees, this is like you said. Going to Kansas City is even rough with Drew Brees, but without him,
it's going to be even worse. Like, the Chiefs know how to handle, be it like Taysom Hill's Swiss Army knife, probably.
Yeah, and if you want to beat the Chiefs, you have to put up at least 27, probably 30.
I was going to say the Dolphins put up 27 and couldn't beat them.
Right. So I said at the bare minimum.
Bare minimum, yeah, but you're going to need to put up probably a solid 40.
Right. You probably want to hit 30 if you're going to have a chance of competing with the Chiefs, and they didn't do that. But outside of not having Drew Brees and Taysom Hill, it's just startlingly unprepared for this Philadelphia Eagles team. And of course, no one's expecting them to come out and play with the fire in the fight that they did. But to have, after all the hype they had with all their defense coming in, I think they went to go down. Didn't they go down 17-0 in this game?
Yes, in the first half.
Yeah. So it's just a really disappointing performance by the New Orleans Saints.
It was absolutely rough for that for the Saints team. But you know what? Being a Falcons fan, I'll allow it.
And let's see what Hurts does the rest of the year, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We got to see what he does.
Yep.
Alrighty. Two teams that are basically out of the playoffs. The Falcons lost to the Chargers 20-17. The Falcons actually did get eliminated from the playoff contention with this game.
So there are so many games, Sam, where we say it's not on Matt Ryan. It's not on Matt Ryan.
This was absolutely on Matt Ryan.
I think we can say this one was on Matt Ryan.
I think, honestly, I was reading something. Someone's like, Matt Ryan has to know the season's not going well for him, or he's throwing the game purposely.
I don't know about that, but
He absolutely looked very, very bad in this one.
3 picks, 224 yards, and then you know, usually a guy who's pretty reliable in those late drives, and
He threw a bad interception.
Twice in the fourth quarter he gave the Chargers a chance to win.
Oh,
And
absolutely. That's where all his interceptions came from.
they finally and he is now 20th in QBR. Oh, behind Daniel Jones. I have no idea why Daniel Jones is 19th.
Yeah, Matt Ryan. So Matt Ryan, I think he this season's over. Basically, they're not going to shut him down because there's no real like rookie quarterback that they want to look at. But they're not playing for anything anymore. They need to lose at this point, to be honest.
Are you worried about Matt Ryan?
I kind of am, because if they keep getting him hit like this, he ain't going to be around next year.
Yeah.
Which is why I wish they kind of had a younger quarterback. So this way, or I putting in Matt Schaub to die, I feel like that'd be even worse.
He would. He would probably die.
Because like this O line, it's got so many holes in it, like Swiss cheese.
He needs a good offensive coach. We talked about it with Kyle Shanahan. How good.
Look, I said I like Raheem Morris. I still do like him, but he's definitely got to be out the door. He's going to be out the door because he's not winning games anymore. He's losing.
They're not going to. Should I even think? I'm not even going to mention Lincoln Riley's name.
No, but Raheem Morris is going to be out the door, and he's probably going to end up in Las Vegas, because John Gruden still really likes him.
Is there any read, Sam, on who the next coach might be? Is there any speculation? Or are we not sure?
The only report I've seen to have gotten is they're looking to get a coach of minority.
So let's see. Well, Lovey just got fired by Illinois, so
I don't know if it's going to be Lovey. They're still looking for probably a young guy, but I understand why you want to do a coach of minority, but I don't want you to pick a coach because of that. I want you to pick a coach because they will lead you to victory.
Right. Well, it can be both.
No, absolutely can be both, but every report is making it seem like that's the main factor. It's like, no. Like, Lovie Smith is still a good coach. Jim Caldwell is still a good coach. Don't just pick a guy because of what he is. Pick a guy because you know he will win you games.
Right.
So that's where I'm a little kind of like upset with this reporting that they're doing.
I'm just thinking about who else. I mean, Eric Bieniemy. I mean, he's an offensive guy.
Because I know they're also trying to so for GM and head coach, the only report that has been out is they're looking for minority, and I'm like, great, that's fine. Just make sure that you're picking him for more than just his color.
Right. Yeah.
So I think whoever's reporting that, I think needs to stop reporting that, because that's making it seem really worse than what it should be.
Yeah. Yeah, I get where you're coming from, and I also
like that report is like that report means nothing really. Like, you could pick a guy, you could pick anyone as long as they're gonna win.
Right.
It should not be like that's kind of a problem here.
Right. Well, I think the thinking is like also how many black coaches are in the league right now, and
I get that, but again, like, if he's not the right candidate, I don't want you to just kind of force it on yourself to do it.
I totally agree. I'm saying like it can be both as well.
It can be both easily. I'm not saying like, oh, because of that he can't be that. No, like that's the only report that's come out on who they're thinking, and I really hope they don't rush this like they did with Dirk Cutter.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. Take your time.
I want them to take their time and really like think about their candidates, and I hope they pick a general manager before a head coach.
Right. Well, that's the other question. Will the general manager pick the head coach, or will Arthur Blank pick the head coach? Do you think?
Honestly, if I know Arthur Blank is going to pick someone that's going to stick around for a while, because that's what he likes to do.
Mm-hmm.
He like with Mike Smith, you knew his time was up after that disappointing year, but they kept him around for another year. Dan Quinn should have been out the door much sooner, but Arthur Blank likes to keep people longer.
Yeah.
The only, like, honestly, if Bobby Petrino wasn't a dickhead, he probably would have stuck around for years.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Ranking the Falcons' best candidates. So we got, I mean, these are just the usual names. Eric Bieniemy, Joe Woods, interesting, Browns defensive coordinator. Robert Saleh. Oh, Saleh's the favorite for the Lions right now, but
yeah, it probably is. Saleh would be an interesting coach. I'd be intrigued to see what happens.
I would be intrigued as well. Byron Leftwich, Matt Eberflus, good, but again, you want to. Kevin O'Connell, Rams offensive coordinator. Patrick Graham, Giants defense coordinator. I hope you don't take him from us. Joe Brady, Panthers offensive coordinator. It's.
I'm kind of hoping they don't pick Byron Leftwich.
Yeah, It's tough. It's tough to find the next big thing
It is.
at
The Byron Leftwich, when he was in Atlanta, did terrible. I really hope they don't pick him again.
yeah. All right. Well, the free fall. The Falcons lose the choke bowl or win it maybe.
They win the choke bowl. They get better
Yeah.
draft picks. So.
They win the choke bowl by losing.
So here's the one thing I don't get. So we were talking about this earlier with the Broncos and the Panthers. Both of those teams are in the hunt. The Panthers are technically last in the division in the NFC South. Why are they not eliminated, but the Falcons are eliminated? I don't get that one.
I don't follow the playoff math at all. I can't even go there. So
I understand, like, maybe it could be a strength of schedule, but, like, the Panthers are not eliminated. The Falcons are completely out of it. The Chargers are out of it. Speaking of the Chargers, Justin Herbert had a good day, by the way, since we've talked about the Falcons so much.
I'm going to push back on that because he had a good completion percentage, but he was not.
It wasn't what he usually puts up.
Right. He was not throwing it down the field. I would actually argue that he had a pedestrian day until the end of this game where he kind of came alive.
He won the game
with those 2 completions for that game-winning drive.
So, I mean, he did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, the reason I say this is because here I will 5.5 yards per attempt. That's what I said. But he won it for them in the end, and they're still probably going to fire Anthony Lynn.
Yeah, he's probably out the door. He's the only reason why he looked like he was calling a good game is because the Falcons weren't calling a good game.
The Falcons are messed though. I'm worried about if Matt Ryan's over the hill. I mean, they're a mess, and they need to make a really good coaching hire if they want any.
They do. If they want Matt Ryan to stick around, since they're still stuck with him for 3 years too because of that huge contract.
Yeah.
They're gonna need to get him someone that can stand, and they need to get him someone that'll utilize him well. Honestly, I feel like the best utilization he's gotten was Dirk Cutter's first stint as offensive coordinator and Shanahan.
And I would say that Malarkey.
Yeah, Mike Malarkey got good use out of him too, but Steve Sarkisian did not use them well. Dirk Cutter's not using them well here again. Like, Shanahan was able to use his weapons well when he was there with them.
I know you didn't like Sarkisian.
I still don't like Sarkisian.
I think but Matt Ryan had one of his best years in 2018.
He can have it all he wants. I think Sarkisian just called bad plays.
I think going...
and I think Dirk Cutter's calling even worse.
Right. Well, that's the thing. I think going from Sarkisian to Cutter was...
That's not even like a equal move. That was a huge step backwards.
Right. That's all I'm saying when I talk about Sarkisian.
No. Like I don't like Sarkisian. Cutter was a step back.
Who's was that? Do we know whose decision that was?
What, Sarkisian?
No, to go back to Cutter.
Oh, Dimitrov.
Okay. Well.
So they wanted to get Gary Kubiak, but the Broncos wouldn't let him interview with them until later. So the Falcons panicked and picked Dirk Cutter instead.
Let's think outside the box, Falcons. Huh? Let's think outside the box.
What they should have done is waited. They literally made that hire like the day after the season ended. They could have waited.
Well, it's I think, Sam, it goes back to the conversation we had a couple weeks ago about loyalty to a fault.
No, it's not even that though. Matt Ryan does terrible in a new system in his first year, and they want to win now, and it's like Dirk Cutter's not the answer.
But at the same time, Dirk Cutter was a retread in the sense that we've worked with him before.
And
the Giants, and it's similar to what the Giants did with Dave Gettleman because he was in the organization when they drafted Eli Manning. When it's like, no, like if you're starting over, like get the next big thing. Don't retread here.
No, I think everyone's probably going to be out. Yeah. Arthur Blank is going to try to build a connection with new people.
Yeah, I think it's later than you'd like, but I agree. I would think Arthur Blank acknowledges that we need to clean shop here.
He's cleaning house here. He's sending all these people to the Home Depot.
Yeah. Hopefully not the Home Depot. Hopefully a little better job than that. But.
I mean, he's actually the co-creator of Home Depot, so he's sending them to go work there.
Arthur Blank is the co-founder of the Home Depot?
Yes, he is.
Well, I did not know that.
I remember I did a report on him for school, and that's what I remember finding out.
Oh, what do you know? He's a co-founder.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because they're pretty. From what I understand, Home Depot is pretty Trump supporting. And
He's not part of Home Depot anymore.
okay, yeah, because Arthur Brank's kind of a liberal guy. This is a vegan who rides a motorcycle.
No, he sold Home Depot years ago.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, cool, interesting. You learn something new every day.
Yeah, all right. So why don't we stop talking about the depressing Falcons for a bit and talk about a team that is shocking me to hell. The Washington football team beat the 49ers 23-15.
Well, for the second week in a row, they're finally being what they should have been at the beginning of the season, which is a team with really good fucking defense.
Yes, and the big surprise here, because we keep talking about it, Dwayne Haskins Jr. got to actually play.
Yeah, Alex Smith died again, and
yeah, I'm really tired of watching Alex Smith die.
Yeah, he died once again, and Haskins comes in but isn't able to do much.
Honestly, it was a bad passing day all around. Like, they won purely off of defense.
Well, Chase Young I think he had a fumble recovery touchdown, didn't he?
He had the recovery. Hold on, I'm looking at the box score. Where's he at? Chase Young, he did have a touchdown, yeah.
Yeah, so big day for him. I think they're a good team. They're building some momentum here for Ron Rivera. Maybe it just took some time for him to get accustomed, because like I said, I expected this defense to be this at the beginning of the season, and they're finally realizing that and playing that brand of physical football that Ron Rivera likes to play later in the season. They what was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, they now are first in the NFC East.
They are, yeah. With the Giants' loss, they do take the lead.
And the Giants sweep them. So the Giants, would take a tiebreaker there, but at the end of the day, the football team could win this division, because the Giants, we know their offense can't do anything, and their schedule. I mean, they play Cleveland. We just saw on Sunday night. We just saw what Cleveland did. Then they go to Baltimore. So that's not a favorable schedule at all.
I think the football team have a better schedule coming up, because all right, they play the Seahawks next week, but then they have the Panthers, who are looking very lowly, and the Eagles, who could give them a challenge. But I think the football team will prevail.
Well, it's interesting, because I think let's say the Giants lose to the. Hold on, I keep closing these windows. I should just leave them all open. Let's say the Giants lose to the Browns and the Ravens and beat the Cowboys, and then let's say the football team loses. This is best case scenario for the Giants. Let's say the football team loses to Seattle, but beats if they win both but beats Carolina, then it comes down to it'll come down to that week 17 matchup, because they'd be winning in against Philly, and that could be interesting, because we don't know how Philly's going to play with Jalen Hurts down the stretch.
Yeah, so honestly, if Washington and Giants both go 1-1, it's coming down to week 17 for them.
Yeah, so good win by them, and same story for the Niners. I think we can put to bed the Nick Mullins runs this offense better than Jimmy Garoppolo narrative.
Who said that?
A lot of people. I think people have been saying that, and I think
I don't see it. I think Jimmy Garoppolo had a better command of this offense last year than Nick Mullins has this year.
Yeah, I agree. So the one positive is Brandon Ayuk.
He's a great rookie pickup for these guys.
And hopefully Garoppolo can stay healthy, and those two can make some magic next year.
Yeah, look, we've said this like every week, I feel like, but the 49ers are definitely out of it.
Yeah.
They're done here.
They're a good sparring partner. They'll make a game out of it. I mean, they'll
keep it interesting, but they're not making any deep playoff runs if they make it.
Correct.
So with that, why don't we? All right, let's talk about a real game now. Let's get a real game in here.
All right.
The Bills beat the Steelers 26-15.
Well, it's time to press the panic button if you're Pittsburgh. I mean, we praised them for weeks, but
look, remember what I said a few weeks ago when I talked about their undefeated record? Who did they beat? The NFC East. They beat the Ravens slumping. They beat the Bengals. They beat down a Jaguars team. Like, they had maybe what, like 2-3 good wins in there?
Yeah, their best win was the Ravens one.
Yeah, so like they're starting to hit a stride here. Like, all right, when it comes to the football team, they definitely had a bit of an issue with when it comes to like the scheduling wise. When it comes to the Bills, you have no excuse at that point.
Well, it's the same issues that are showing up, and that is that it's not a talented offense, and they're asking. basically, if Ben Roethlisberger doesn't play perfect, which he didn't, they can't win.
Exactly. Like James Conner, as you mentioned, he's not that
They
great.
can't run the ball at all. At
Yeah.
all.
Like Juju Smith-Schuster is there, but Ben Roethlisberger's not playing best football anymore.
Well, it's if he doesn't play perfect, they have no chance to win because they can't block, they can't run the football. Even when they were winning, they couldn't run the football.
Yeah, it was all Ben Roethlisberger throwing the ball, really.
The receiving core is one of Ben Roethlisberger's worst of his career. Like you said, Juju hasn't. He can still play, but he hasn't been the guy that he was when Antonio Brown was there.
No, Juju is not a number one receiver. I feel like he's definitely a number two.
Oh no, he's not. He's not at all. And they keep giving targets to Deontay Johnson, who cannot catch the football.
Yeah, he had 7 targets.
I mean, throw it to James Washington or Chase Claypool, but why is Deontay Johnson your number 2? You know, Scott Kazmar on Twitter, a former Football Outsiders analyst, was talking about how Randy Fichtner and how he really has, and it was weird that I don't know why they got rid of Todd Haley, honestly, but Fichtner hasn't really figured out how to call an offense on the Steelers that doesn't ever since Antonio Brown has left. And Kazmar talking about this went back to the first game of I was either last year, I think it was last year, where they got blown out by the Patriots on Sunday Night Football, and they kept throwing it to Dante Moncrief, and that wasn't working, and he doesn't know how to call an offense without Antonio Brown. I thought that was an astute point because it seems to be accurate here. It's time to hit the panic button because a team that we once said was the best team in the AFC and could win the Super Bowl, if they keep playing like this, Sam, they're going to be one and done easily in the playoffs.
They could easily be one and done because they're going to be facing real competition in like the playoffs. Like they're in the 2 seed right now. If the season ended, they'd be playing the Dolphins.
And they'll probably give up the 1 seed if it's not good.
They already did give up the 1 seed. They're the 2 seed.
They're the 2 seed now. Okay, there you go. So, wait, who did you say the Dolphins are the 1 seed?
No, the Dolphins are the 7 seed.
Okay, I was confused. Who's the 1 seed?
The Chiefs.
Okay, of course. So, yeah, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger wasn't particularly sharp, but they looked uninspired, and their offense is really bad, and they're really bad personnel wise, and they're not helping them from a play calling perspective. And Ben Roethlisberger is going to get a lot of heat, and I don't. Again, he's not what he was 5 years ago in terms of throwing the ball down the field, but I don't think he's getting any help. And like I said, if he's not perfect, they don't win, and I don't think it's sustainable to ask your quarterback to throw the ball 50 times and be perfect on every time to have to win games. And so I think if you're concerned if you're the Steelers, and their defense was okay, but the defense actually gave up a pass interference late when they needed to get a stop, and the Bills ran out the clock with like 7 minutes left, and Pittsburgh for some reason didn't even use their timeouts to try to get the ball back.
No, Buffalo really kind of routed them today.
They didn't even seem interested in. And on the Bills side, I'm just Zach Moss is sort of they're giving him more carries. Stephon Diggs did what Stephon Diggs does. Again, I watching this game live, I again have nothing but good things to say about Josh Allen.
He's really taken a huge step, and I feel like they had a bit of a chip on their shoulder for this game because Juju Smith was dancing on their logo before the game, so I thought that kind of made him a little mad from what Josh Allen was saying.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen, this was a gutsy game. I mean, Sam, he was getting hit on pretty much every drop back, and they were coming after him, and he was making good decisions. He was finding his hot reads. They put it in his hands. I mean, they kind of put him in shotgun, and they say, "Hey, Josh, make the right read here." And
he did.
It's a really good fit between him and is it Sean McDermott? No, Darrell Bevell. But Darrell Bevell's the offensive coordinator, right?
Yeah, McDermott's the head coach.
Yeah, it's a really good fit between. No, wait, Darrell Bevell's in Detroit. What am I saying? Who's the offensive coordinator there?
I have no idea, to be honest. I don't keep up with the Bills as much as I should, probably.
Offensive coordinator Brian Dable. Yeah, I got the B's and the D's mixed up.
You're good. You're good.
So it's a really good fit. I mean, you see the mutual trust, Sam, in that he has now grown comfortable in this scheme, and as a result, the coaches are trusting him more to make plays and not to hide him. And his style of play is so interesting because he's not really like a pure timing guy, and he's kind of a risk taker. He's kind of an improvisational guy, but he protects the football at the same time. Like despite some of the crazy things he does, the wild stallion stuff, they trust him to kind of take care of the ball, and he does it. I mean, his growth has been, I'll say it each and every week. And again, I'll say it when a guy does well. I said it when he doesn't do well. I said his first 2 years, frankly, he wasn't good. And if you thought he was good, then you were mistaking team progress for him. But this year he's really improved, and the future is bright with them. And this was a gutsy performance, man, because this kid was getting hit every snap, and it's not easy against the Steelers defense. Statistically it wasn't super pretty, but it was a cold, defensive battle, and he hung in there and made the throws.
Definitely. I like to see Josh Allen doing what he's doing.
Yeah, and their kicker is coming on late for them as well. So, a well-coached team that and they're playing a bit better on defense recently, which was their Achilles heel. So maybe they take that momentum into the playoffs and go for a run here. Again, I've said it all year. They believe they can win a Super Bowl.
They can, and you know what? Out of all these AFC playoff teams, they still have a good chance.
Mm-hmm. And maybe Brian Dable gets a look for a coaching job. Who knows?
Maybe. Alrighty. Monday Night Football. They're calling this the game of the season.
I'd have to look at I don't know about it, but it was definitely the game of the week. I mean,
47-42 for the Ravens. I saw that Lamar Jackson stepped off the field for a minute to come back on to help post the game-winning drive.
So it was really 45-42. It was a field goal win, and then the Browns took a safety.
They gave a safety. I saw that safety cost bettors millions.
Who did it cost millions?
A lot of people that were betting on the game.
Bettors. Okay.
Bettors.
Yeah. They take a safety on the trying to do a bunch of laterals, and I guess they don't need to do a free kick if the clock hits zeros.
Game's over.
I was pissed. I was like, where is my free kick? Anyway, yeah, so this was a shootout that I don't think anyone was expecting this to be a shootout coming into this game.
No, honestly, for me, I thought the Browns were going to take this one.
And I don't think that anyone, if you had asked Sam, either of us in September, I don't think anyone would have said that the Browns would have had a better record coming into this game than the Ravens.
Oh, absolutely.
But the Ravens might have to run the table here to even make the playoffs, which is amazing that we're talking about that. But again, it's like the Steelers, and the Saints is proof that it's not over until it's over. Yeah, this was a shootout. So early on in this game, the Browns had a good first drive, but they had trouble. They could not stop the run either from Lamar Jackson or from any of the running backs, and the Ravens were just gashing them on the Browns. Certainly, Browns defense, you're a bit concerned after watching this game. Mayfield had a bad pick, but other than that, he really did everything he can to.
He tried to play a solid game.
He did everything he could to bring them back in the game, and they were down 28-14 at one point, and he it was back and forth, and he's able to bring them back, and then they go for two, and they get that, and they're at the point where they actually go ahead and kick the extra point to win it, and the Ravens were there was a lot of attrition. They didn't have any healthy corners, and then at one point, and then they lose, like you said, they lose Lamar Jackson, who. This field, Lamar Jackson, maybe it was the shoes because he had to change his shoes because he was slipping a lot early on. This field did not look good. But yeah, then he has to go out, and I guess RG3 is hurt because Trace McSorley comes in.
And McSorley gets hurt.
You're thinking the Browns are going to take this, and then my stream went out, and I came back and I see it's a touchdown, and I'm like, what the hell just happened? But Lamar Jackson apparently comes back from the locker room gimpy. And this is the moment that we live for, the moments we live for in sports, right? And he rolls right, and that draws the defense up because you have to defend his run. And then he finds Marquise Brown down the field. And as Lamar was great running. Throwing the ball, he doesn't look like he wants to throw it. He looks like he's just dropping back to run. But I will say that their receivers are both teams' receivers were not good. The Ravens, outside of that big play, Marquise Brown, just his hands do not. He had a ton of drops, and the Browns receivers. Had a ton of drops as well. So
Rashard Higgins looked like he dropped the ball 4 times. Yeah. Marquise Brown caught the ball twice and was targeted 6 times.
Yeah. So
Harrison Bryant was 3 reception on 6 targets.
But he comes back in, makes the play late. Baker Mayfield takes him back down the field again, and then let me. This is something that's not being talked. Lamar leads on a nice dip and dunk drive to get into field goal range. But this is something that's not being talked about. The Ravens get a completion with 38 seconds. I would have spiked it, but they take their last time out. Okay, then they get another either 1 or 2 completions. I think just one, and then the clock is ticking at about 15 seconds, and they have time to spike the ball and run another play, and they don't, and they spike it with not enough time not left to run another play, and they bring on Justin Tucker, and he's right down the middle, but it's a 55-yarder, Sam, and I would have wanted to get closer personally, and I think if you have any kicker other than Justin Tucker, you're probably trying to get closer. But how amazing is it that you have a kicker where you get to it to be a 55-yard field goal outdoors in Cleveland on a terrible field in December, and you say, okay, that we're not going to try to get closer. That's in range for him, and he flushes the kick. I mean, it's so he's a generational talent at kicker. And I just thought that was weird that no one was talking about that because, we've just kind of taken it for granted that Tucker can make these kicks. But when they took their time spiking that, I'm like, I personally would have tried to get closer. But, props to Tucker for making the kick. Great game. Hurts for the Browns because they did everything they could. But, again, even so, it feels good for the future of the Browns and Baker Mayfield that they were able to make this game a fight.
It was definitely good for them. It's not over for either team, though. They can still make it.
Yeah, the Ravens got to keep winning. I mean, I'm still, again, I think that the passing game issue is not solved. They just didn't really have to rely on it this time around. So that's still I mean, he was 11-17, so that's still a concern for them.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah.
So before we go into our game picks, I would like to go over the quick playoff picture, Kerry.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So on the AFC side, the Chiefs, they have clinched the division and a playoff spot. They are the number 1 seed right now.
Okay.
The Steelers have clinched a playoff spot, and they are the number 2 seed. The Bills have not clinched yet. They are the 3 seed. The Titans are the 4 seed. The Browns are in 5. The Colts are in 6. The Dolphins are 7. Still in the hunt, the Ravens are technically the 8th. Raiders would be 9. Patriots 10. Broncos 11. And teams eliminated are the Texans, Chargers, Bengals, Jaguars, and Jets. What do you think are the biggest surprise for you in that AFC hunt?
I just find it crazy that after the way the Ravens started the season, that they're on the outside looking in.
They're on the outside. The one shock, I think the Dolphins. I wasn't expecting the Dolphins to be there.
Yeah, that's the other. No one expected them, but they have kind of happily taken over the mantle of AFC East power now. But yeah, it's that AFC North is competitive, and we all know the Ravens are a good team, but that's the big thing.
It's a tough division. What do you think about any team in the hunt? What team there do you think has the best chance of making it?
Probably. I guess probably the Ravens.
Yeah. I don't know if the Raiders are going to make it. I'm pretty sure the Patriots and the Broncos are both going to get eliminated this week.
I mean, I think the AFC North is going to be a fight till the end, and you could argue the AFC South, the Titans and the Colts are going to keep jostling.
Oh, that's easily, but I think both teams are going to make it. If we're talking about teams that are in the hunt, it would be really down to the Ravens and the Raiders.
Yeah, I think it would be Baltimore. Even again, their passing game is a weakness, but they're still well coached, and they still, I have the most confidence in John Harbaugh out of and that defense out of, they're still a good team all around. They just can't throw the football.
Absolutely.
That will hurt them against some teams, but that doesn't change the fact that they're still a physical good team.
All right, let's move on to the NFC side. With the 1 seed, we have the Packers, who claimed the division and a playoff spot.
Just one more thing on the AFC. I think the Steelers, if they keep losing, they could, again, the AFC North.
They'd fall.
I mean, it could be any of those 3 teams, so that's going to go to week 17, that one.
Yeah. All right, NFC real quick. Packers are the 1 seed with the clinch of the division. Yeah. Saints are the 2 seed with clinched playoff spot.
Yeah.
Rams are in the 3rd seed. The football team is in the 4th seed. Seahawks are the 5th seed. Buccaneers are the 6th seed. 7th seed goes to the Cardinals. In the hunt, we have the Vikings as the 8th seed. Bears are 9. Lions are 10. 49ers are 11. Giants are 12. Eagles are 13. Cowboys are 14. And the Panthers are 15, with the only team eliminated being the Atlanta Falcons.
A lot of teams in the hunt.
Well, see, if the NFC East wasn't the NFC East, we'd probably have all 3 of those teams out.
Right. So I think the NFC East, like we said, is going to go down.
That's going to go down the wire. The Panthers are probably going to be eliminated this week.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the Bears and the Lions, I think they're going to be out in the next week or so.
Yeah.
I think the 49ers are going to be out this week.
Yeah.
And it's really going to be the Vikings in that 8 seed if they can sneak in.
Yeah. Well, the Cardinals are in.
Cardinals are in 7 right now. Honestly, it's going to go down to probably those 2 teams in the 7 seeds. I don't think the Buccaneers are going to fall out. I don't think the Seahawks are going to fall out.
I mean, I think the spots as it is are the best teams. I don't think they would. I don't think any teams would be. I don't think any.
There's no real shakeup in that NFC side.
Right. I don't think any teams in the hunt. NFC East aside, I don't think any the Bears, Lions, Vikings.
The real change will be the football team and the Giants, really.
Right. I don't think any of that other NFC North deserves to be in. And then the only other thing I would watch, Sam, is do the Rams and Seahawks.
Do they switch spots?
Yeah. That's the other thing I would watch.
All right. So why don't we go on to our Week 15 game picks?
Let's do it.
All right, we have Thursday Night Football. We have the Chargers visiting the Raiders in Vegas.
We're on Week 15 here. Let me just.
Week 15. I'm on ESPN if that helps.
Chargers at the Raiders. Raiders are at home. They're both bad.
they are both bad, but if I had to pick one, I'm going to say the Raiders will take it to keep their playoff hopes alive.
Yeah. I'll take the Chargers because I think the Raiders are headed in the wrong direction.
I can agree with that. Honestly, this game, this is one of the games I think can go either way.
Correct.
All right, we have Saturday football.
Yeah, it's so usually
College football would usually be over at this time.
Yeah, no, this is it's championship weekend, so I'm not watching any of these. But
Saturday football, we have the Bills at the Broncos.
Buffalo. Yeah.
We have Panthers at the Packers.
Green Bay.
Packers. They're in Green Bay.
Yep. Easy.
Alrighty. Sunday football. We have the Buccaneers going to Atlanta to take on the Falcons.
I'm going to take Tampa.
Yeah, same here.
Yep.
We have the 49ers going to Texas to take on the Cowboys.
49ers have had trouble winning games, but I think they have more fight in them than Dallas does, so I'm going to take the 49ers.
I am going to agree with you on that one. I'm taking the 49ers.
Yep.
The Detroit Lions are heading over to Tennessee to take on the Titans.
Tennessee could always surprise you with an egg, but I think they keep rolling here and take care of Detroit.
I think Derrick Henry's going to run over this Detroit defense.
Yeah.
We have AFC South matchup, Texans visiting the Colts in Indianapolis.
Again, similar to the Titans, the Colts are always candidates for a letdown game, but they're just such a better team here outside of quarterback. I'll take the Colts.
I will also agree with you in taking that Colts team.
Mm-hmm.
AFC East matchup, the Patriots are going to Florida to take on the Dolphins.
I'm skeptical. This is a big test because can you get over the hump and defeat New England? And New England has been so week to week, and just when you think they're down now, they surprise you. I'm going to take Miami, if only because I don't want New England to win, but I will take Miami, but would not be surprised if New England won. I'm
going to take Miami. The one thing I will mention is I've noticed over the years the Patriots are really bad at playing in Miami.
That's actually a very good point. That's kind of.
I don't know if that trend continues or not.
No, yeah, we'll see if that continues without Brady, but that is a very good. It actually a weird degree how much Miami has. I mean, just off the top of my head, there was the 09.
There was the Miami Miracle a few years back.
Right. Was that the lateral play?
That was. Then there was Ryan Fitzpatrick. Last year?
Maybe.
They got him into the wild card game.
Oh yeah, week 17. They Fitzpatrick went off.
Yeah. So something about Miami and New England. Which also, this is before we continue our game picks. That kind of confused me why Tom went to Florida. He seems to play really bad in Florida.
Yeah, and just that lateral, that game they won on the lateral was crazy because Miami, that was a game where Gronk was playing safety, and they didn't even on that lateral play they didn't even use the whole field. They literally kept it.
No, they left one side.
Yeah, it was crazy. But 09 they lost Tom Brady through 2 picks in that game. And Chad Henne led a game-winning drive, and I think it was in 04. I'm just going to look this up really quick. It was either 04 or 05. Yes, 04. So 04, the Miami Dolphins. I'll tell you their record. I believe they were a 1-win team. Yeah, they were 4-12. In 4-12, Week 15, the 0-4 New England Patriots go to Miami and lose 28-29. And I just want to pull up the box score of this game because I believe it was a 4 interception game for Brady, and this was the beginning of the weird Miami things happening.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about Miami, but the Patriots do have a rough time there.
4 interception game for Brady, who gets out-dueled by A.J. Feely. So there's a little bit of history for you. Anyway, I'm taking Miami.
All right, so why don't we move on with that game picks real quick?
Yeah.
All right, we have the Bears going to Minnesota to take on the Vikings.
I'm so sick of the NFC North.
It's not. Luckily for us, this isn't prime time.
I'm so sick of the NFC North. I will take, let's see, Minnesota didn't play well last week. Chicago has the momentum. Still think Minnesota's the better team. Chicago doesn't know.
I think Minnesota's going to take it. They really need this win.
It's a toss-up. I'll take Minnesota, but we'll see if Dan Bailey, costs this one again.
Yeah. All right, we have the Seattle Seahawks going to Maryland to take on the football team.
This could be a defensive struggle here, but I have to think Seattle they can't lose right now. So
they can't, but because I'm gonna ride the football team hype train, I think they're gonna win.
You're on the no-name hype train.
I'm on Team Redacted.
All right, yeah, I think it's gonna be tough. Russell Wilson, they can't. I can't see Russell Wilson losing Alex. Or will it be Haskins this week?
I have no idea. We have to wait for the injury report.
Whatever it is, I'll take Seattle. But
yes, I think Bambi's trying to buy a football team jersey right now because she's trying to slap my keyboard. Ain't that right, puppy?
Not a good decision.
Yeah, Bambi's a Falcons fan, or we'd have a problem.
Yeah.
All right, we have Jacksonville also traveling to Maryland to take on the Ravens.
I'll take the Ravens.
Yeah, easy choice.
Mm-hmm.
We have the Jets flying to Los Angeles to take on the Rams.
Rams.
Yep. We have the Eagles going to Glendale, Arizona to take on the Cardinals.
Jalen Hurts, you never know, but I would think Arizona takes care of business.
I think the Cardinals will figure it out and take them down.
Yeah.
We have the Chiefs going to New Orleans, Louisiana to take on the Saints.
I think even with Drew Brees, I would probably take...
I think the Chiefs are going to take this one.
Yeah, without Drew Brees, so do we know, Sam, for sure that he's not going to be back?
They said it's a maybe still, so we're not 100% sure yet.
I feel like the football gods just don't want us to see Drew Brees, Patrick Mahomes. Remember 2 years ago, if it weren't for the overtime...
If it wasn't that pass interference and then the Brady...
And then
whatever.
And then the Frank Clark off, or the D4, was it Frank Clark off, or D4?
Frank Clark was offsides.
Clark offsides and overtime, then we'd be talking about a Mahomes Brees Super Bowl. The football gods just don't want us to be treated to this matchup that we probably won't ever see again.
Nope.
Bad.
All right, Sunday Night Football. We got the Browns taking on the Giants.
My Giants get a Sunday night game?
Yeah, that's the one they flexed out for the Cowboys.
So after watching what the Browns did to the Ravens, and after the fact that the Giants are set up to be disappointed in a primetime game, I'm going to take the Browns here with hope that the Giants win. Of course.
I'm going to have to take the Browns as well. I'm sorry, Carrie.
It's okay.
Monday Night Football, we have a stinker with the Steelers taking on the Bengals.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an ugly win for the Steelers.
Oh, absolutely. I'd laugh my ass off if the Bengals win, though.
Yeah. Ugly win.
All right, so that is going to do it for our NFL recap. Hopefully, if y'all want to stick around, I'm going to try to do our NBA preview today as well. So make sure to stick around to listen to our NBA preview. Carrie, as always, happy to have you on board for our football recaps.
Appreciate that. A couple of notes here, Sam, just from the college football world. Sarah Fuller.
She went 2 for 2, I saw.
2 for 2 on extra points, becomes for the Commodores, and becomes the first woman to score a point in Power 5 history. So congratulations to her. She will be in the history books for this, and just an inspiration to all the girls out there who are into sports. And to all the guys who are shaking their heads at this, it may shock you to know that there are actually girls who like sports, who are into sports, who can play sports, and who are actually pretty knowledgeable about sports. So when they see someone else who's a girl out there playing it, it makes a difference, even though you think it's just a guy sport. So congratulations to her. And Sam, we have championship weekend coming up. We have Florida, Alabama, and Clemson, Notre Dame, and Iowa State versus Oklahoma. All good games to watch.
Is that the playoff or?
No, this is championship weekend. So This will determine the playoff seeding. You'll have these games on
Oh, so we
Saturday.
don't have the play. Okay. I'm not 100% knowledgeable on college
Yeah, so
football.
what happens is you'll have these games on Saturday, and then you'll have you'll have the playoff seeding come out the next day, Sunday at noon. The committee is going to stay up all night debating, and then you'll have a 4-hour show Sunday at noon to have the reveal, and then you're going to have the semifinals games on New Year's Day. It's going to be the Rose Bowl and then I believe the Cotton Bowl. But a couple of good storylines here. Alabama, if you watch the NFL and you know that the Patriots under Belichick were one of the best dynasties ever, that's what's going on with Nick Saban at Alabama. He's on track to win, I believe it would be his 7th title, which is obscene. So that's a good game to watch. Oklahoma, Spencer Rattler, the true freshman, his arm is somewhat Patrick Mahomes-esque in terms of his arm talent. And he's a true freshman, so he won't be coming out for a while, but he's there. That offense is always fun to watch. And on the flip side, Iowa State head coach Matt Campbell has gotten a historically poor program into the championship game, so he's going to be a big coaching commodity moving forward. And then the ACC, Trevor Lawrence. If you want to get a glimpse of Trevor Lawrence, check out the ACC championship game. Notre Dame moved out of independent to play in the ACC just for the pandemic. So this is a game. This is Clemson's one regular season loss. It will be a good matchup for them. And so this will determine the playoff seeding. So that will come out on Sunday. So big Saturday coming up. And then, yes, Sam, we'll be back next week to get a clear picture of the playoffs here in the NFL.
Hopefully. There was one thing I did want to ask you, since I know you're a college football guy, before we wrap things up here.
Yeah.
I saw one of the coaches was saying they don't think Ohio State should qualify for the playoff.
Well, so it's such a crazy year, Sam, because each conference is playing a different amount of games, and essentially Ohio State has only played 6 games, and I think it's a fair critique to say they've only played 6 games, and the SEC has played a 10-game SEC schedule, no out of conference. So why are they getting rewarded? Is that enough to see them play? But they're gonna be playing in the championship game against Northwestern. They're probably gonna win that. I think it's fine to put them in because I think they're a pretty good team. You can see that by watching them. And I understand why coaches are upset, but I think there's an argument for both sides, but I'm okay with putting them in. And at the end of the day, if you don't like Ohio State, which I don't, you should be rooting for them to get in the playoff because they will most likely be the 4th seed, and they will most likely have to play Bama, and most likely will get their asses kicked. So if you don't want them in the playoff, maybe you can take some solace in seeing them get their butt kicked in by Bama.
All righty. So, Mr. Carey, that'll wrap up our time here for football. Anything you'd like to say for your plugs?
Yes, sir. Check me out at Football CK. Those are my initials. So one word, football, and then the letters CK.wordpress.com. You can see all my blog posts and writing there, and I will post all these podcasts there for easy access. And you can also check me out at lafbnetwork.com. That stands for the LA Football Network, lafbnetwork.com, where I cover UCLA. I will get my recap for the Victory Bell matchup up soon there. And you can also, if you want to collaborate on any sports, content, I'm doing freelance right now, marketing, podcast, writing, anything like that. Check me out on LinkedIn, Cary, Carey, Krongard, Krongard. That's Carey Krongard. And Sam, always fun to be here and look forward to chatting again next week.
Always having fun with you here, talking football. For all you guys sticking around, make sure to keep listening in. Take a quick breather. We'll be back with some basketball, so make sure to keep sticking around and look out for that. We will be talking the start of basketball, which will be next week, so make sure to click on to continue on to part 2.